So
is it
another
when you're
story.
doing the crying thing, is it a mechanical thing, or are you really accessing some emotions? And can you tell us about that, or is that private?
No. It's not easy for me. I'm finding as I go along the last couple of years, it's gotten easier. Mostly, I think, because of the things that I can draw on. It's
Yeah.
basically drawing on something. Um, I'll be honest with you, music plays a big part for me. I love when I have certain things like that. I love playing music up to the last second. That puts me there. Um, having girls, having daughters, uh, thinking about certain things can put you there.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
it was funny. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was reading something, reading lines for this with my daughter, who she'll appease me every time and read with me, and I was telling her about a song I was telling her about a song that I really like, and it was a song from I'm not going to remember the name.
Eli, the Book of Eli.
Book of Eli.
Yes, the Book of Eli. The Book of Eli. There's a song that plays throughout that movie that's really cool, just somber little song, and I told her about it. I was telling her she was getting anxious about something. I said, "I'm going to send you this song and just put it in your room and play it." And I put it on, and immediately went somewhere in my head, not realizing it, and started crying in front of her. And she was like, "What the hell what the hell is going on?" And it was bizarre. I didn't even realize it. So again, long story, I'm finding it easier as I go along in life to access those things. It's not easy because, when you're in a situation like in Concussion, actually, when there's a scene where I get angry and physical with my wife on camera and storm out the door. And we had to shoot this for a while. And me and my co-star we'd hold hands between takes. Wow. And just feel that sort of sadness together. It's funny, it takes me back there for a second.
Yeah.
But just holding her hand as I was like supposed to run off first, and then she was supposed to follow me. Again, it's hit and miss. Whenever I really try hard to do it, it doesn't work. It's just, it has to sort of come.
Nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
and besides most. Go ahead.
No, just the you see stuff, whatever it is that triggers you, that gets you back to that place. I get it sometimes in the roar of the crowd. The national anthem at the beginning of a game and shit. Where you just it takes you someplace. So I got tell us a little bit about what it was like to do the West Wing. You had a neat scene in the West Wing with a great timing of the whole thing toward the end of the show, and two great guys that you worked with
again,
on that. And,
that's an all-time great.
Having met Alan Alda, one of the coolest fucking moments ever. He came into the dressing room. I was getting out. It was in makeup, and there was another actor, and I had already talked to him about playing football, and he walked in and introduced himself, and I just, I was a huge fan. I was a MASH fan forever. And
Paper Lion.
He said, "Yeah, Paper Lion."
He was the quarterback.
He was the freaking quarterback.
For God's sake. Yeah, that's awesome.
Unbelievable, right?
What a kook.
A guy who couldn't look less athletic if he tried.
Totally.
But Alan Alda walks in, and the other actor says, "Matthew played football for 14 years." And just as sweet as can be, looked at me and looked at him, and he goes, "Well, not today, he's not." Just one of those, like, today you're an actor. Yeah. And so,
like a back east
quick story, I was auditioning. I was auditioning for that, and it was one of my early goals was to get on the West Wing, because Chuck, as you know, that show was it.
Greatest written show ever. Greatest written show on the planet ever.
Unbelievable.
You should have told Alan Alda that you played football. That was your character.
Exactly.
It wasn't professional football.
Which I did. I was actually, they were able to use my own name. If you listen closely, it says our own Chicago Bear, Matt Willig,
nice.
Which is pretty cool, actually.
Nice.
But so I was auditioning for that, pretty nervous about it.
Tell us what the
again,
role
because it
was.
was a goal of mine
Talk
early
about what
on.
the role was for a second.
I played myself. I was so at that point in the show, Alan Alda and Jimmy Smits were presidential candidates, and we were at a businessman's rally in Chicago. And me being sort of the character was sort of a famous football player who was announcing or introducing both candidates. And so I was walking into the audition and nervous as heck, and kind of took a big breath and looked at the two of the producers, and they said, "Look, just so you know, you got the job already.
You don't have to worry.
What we want to talk about is football. We're big Jets fans, and we've known of you since the Jet days, and so let's just spend this time talking about football." So,
Beautiful.
I can never say that football never helped me get a gig, because
That's fantastic.
it was pretty friggin' awesome. Yeah,
And it's
especially
an
at that time. That was
an
one of the
epic
first.
scene. You describe the scene for us, Matt.
It's a cool scene.
Yeah.
It starts with I introduce Jimmy Smits character, and I shake their hands, and Jimmy is this kind of younger, virile sort of candidate, and he's rambunctious, I guess, or whatever. He's ready to go. And then I introduce Alan Alda, and previous to that, Alan Alda, his character, he's an older guy, and he had been shaking so many hands that his hand was really sore, like literally, it was hurting him. And I introduce Alan, his character comes out, and they literally, freeze on my hand, sort of holding out to him, and with this dun dun dun, and I ended up shaking his hand and break it. I break his hand just by shaking it.
Yeah, and it's like somebody breaking Trump's hand tonight. Yeah, shaking his hand and hand, or Biden snapped about 3 digits or 4 digits off.
Matt, I just gotta tell you, I didn't know that story, but my son Kyle shook your hand when he was 7 years old. We were at the Firehouse Grill, Uptown Whittier, and he shook your hand, and he came back. He said, "Dad, that's like shaking hands with a pillow." He was just like, he was fascinated. It's so good.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment.
100%.
That means I didn't shake it too hard.
100%. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Oh yeah. He was in awe though.
He was like,
yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. That's cool. That's cool. I love to hear that. That's awesome.
I didn't know that we're gonna bring that up. That's cool.
Yeah. There's a story. You guys can keep it in and put it out if you want. But I'll tell you a story about Harold Ramis.
Can we keep it in?
Oh, Ramis.
Harold Ramis. That's what I was trying to tell you, Tommy. Harold Ramis. There you go.
Harold Ramis. And again, walked into that audition with Harold, and I was at the Beverly Hills Hotel with Harold in a big conference room, like a dining room. Scared out of my mind. It's crazy how nervous you can get. But with him and Jack, and they're laughing and talking, and I'm walking in trying to freaking book a nice freaking movie, and again, had a great audition with Jack and just riffed with him a little bit, and Harold at the end said, see, he goes, he's the quintessential freaking captain of the football team. That's what we need, and so ended up having a real cool relationship with Harold, just because, again, he saw me. He was a big sports nut, Chicago guy. And he saw me as the leader of the cool kids. And, so anyways, cut to, we were in Louisiana, and Harold that whole crew is notoriously, they were dope smokers. And one night we were having a party we were having a get together up in his presidential suite, and he nods to me at the end of the night, stick around afterwards. I'm like, fuck yeah. And and it's everyone leaves except me and his DP, his director of photography, who is a good friend of his from many, many years. And we go into the bathroom. Again, this is a 60-year-old man who's done whatever he's wanted to for his whole life. We go into the bathroom. We do the towel under the door, and the three of us smoke a joint. Like one of us was in the bathtub, one of us was sitting on the top of the toilet, and then the other one was like sitting on top of the sink. Like we were like literally 15-year-old kids trying to get away with murder. We sat and smoked a joint and had the best time ever. It was really cool. And for him to do that and kind of open himself up to me to do that I felt like it was really, really, really cool. And awesome. He was always really sweet. And it was a big blow to hear when he had passed away.
Huge.
Yeah, the only director that I ever bought anything for after a film, he was a big tennis shoe guy, so I got him these freaking $400 kicks that he just absolutely loved. And
some Jordans.
So it was cool. And you know, I'm trying to think where they were. I think they might have been Jordans. I think they might have been. I can't even remember now what they were. But and again, you know, I got his family thought enough of me, and his son at the time was a younger kid, and he got along with him, and they invited me to his funeral service in LA, which I kind of really felt honored by. And so again, I look back on that with a lot of really, really fond memories.
Good movie, fun movie to
It seems like that's the first movie where you got to really make a character. It wasn't just a walkthrough or a stand there. It was like you were a huge part of that deal. You were a huge cog.
Yeah, it was. And the first chance I was able to, again, because of Harold and kind of the comfortability of feeling that, you know, when you're on a set with guys like Jack Black, and there was numerous people on that set that you were like going, oh shit, man, I just want to get my lines straight and not fuck up. But he allowed me to kind of improv a little bit. Nice. And so some of the funniest things, or even some of the funniest things I said, you know, were things I just improv. I'll kill you where you stand. Is a line that people will use. And I made that up on the spot.
Oh! Whoa, hey, what's going on here?
I will kill you where you stand.
Oh, shooting star, that's the best.
And, you know, they loved it, to the point where at the end of the movie, Michael Cera uses that line like to mimic me, going, I'll kill you where you stand. So, yeah, it was pretty fun.
You pick up that bag of Camel Duck.
Yes, sir.
Hang on to it all day. Hustle up, ladies. These donkeys don't pack themselves.
I will kill you where you stand.
Relax.
Cut a little off the end, but there's plenty more of that kid.
No, this is my woman. You stay away from her or I'll kill you where you stand.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just go. Get out of here or I'll kill you where you stand.
Thank you, Ted.
Ew, are you?
It was a great chance to be over that a long period of time where you actually feel comfortable kind of making something out of nothing. So
I wasn't going to bring up We Are the Millers, except you brought it up. So we have to ask the gratuitous question. I mean, what perfume does Jennifer Aniston wear, man? Just for our demographic, you know.
Sure. Your demographic. I don't know what she smelled like, but she tasted really nice. No. So the first day of work for me was that her striptease. That was my first day of work. And in the script, it called for me, or for her, to come over to me and dance with me for 5 or 6 seconds. And so you can imagine, you know, my eagerness for the scene to get going and to start. Well,
enthusiasm.
I get a knock on my door.
I heard you were on time.
Yes,
that day.
all those adjectives.
You weren't late.
I was early. I remember what I smelled like. They knocked on my door and said, look, we're changing the scene up and she's not going to come over you and dance on you anymore. And it was a little bit of a heartbreak. But,
the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Jen was really, really cool. She, from the get-go, was really sweet. Again, a lot of fun to make that movie. Made the most out of it because we added some lines to his character a little bit. You know, I didn't have very many, but you know, again, playing a pseudo Hispanic. When you're 6'7", 6'8",
Come on, you're 6'10".
You know,
come on. What are you talking about?
For this role I'm in right now.
Oh, okay.
But when you walk around, you know, being this tall, it sort of follows you. It's a weird thing, you know. I can't tell you how many times I've walked out in public and people will talk about you like you're not there, you know, and you just sort of end up, you hear it, but you drown it out. I've had my daughters go, "Oh my God, that people were talking." You know, you have to get used to that sort of just walking into a room, whether I was an actor, an athlete, or just Joe Blow walking in the store. When you're this big, you know that there's going to be eyes on you, and so it's a little bit of a weird dynamic that you kind of figure out in life, you know.
So I'm going to go deep down and reach out to Tommy a little bit, because Tommy tells a great story about seeing you and your rib cage and stuff like that. So I think you should tell.
That was not for Matt's ears, man.
No, I think you should talk about that impression. You know, that impression's
all right. I got two things. I have two things I have to say. Number one, when I went to see you in the Rose Bowl, I get the program out and it says Matt Willig trivia. He's the tallest football player at 6'10" that's ever been at USC. So I know you can neither confirm nor deny because it's going to screw up your roles, but I understand. I mean, come on. But tying into that,
I've been getting shorter as I go along.
Okay, good. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But I was in the locker room. I was directly across from you in the den, directly across from you. I don't know if you remember that. And I just remember you and I, for some reason, were always sort of the last ones out. And I remember when you would take off your shirt, man, and you would have the grills, man. It looked like somebody, like you laid on a barbecue from getting smacked with the face mask. And I always was like, man, that guy better get low. I don't know why he doesn't get low.
He's 7'2".
I know. I couldn't ever wrap my mind around.
Can't bend over, man. I'm telling you. That's why they moved him. That's why they moved him to offense.
Yeah, that was the deal. I was like, why is Matt freaking playing D-line? In my little small brain, and I wasn't going to confront you, obviously. And I just remember, like, you chasing quarterbacks, and even if you had a good angle on the quarterback, I was like, that poor guy, he ain't never. But trying to get the edge on you at left tackle, that's fucking. Getting the edge is impossible.
Oh man, I got some beautiful pictures. I have beautiful pictures from Mr. Ward, man. I'll show you some beautiful athletic shots.
I mean, talk about lack of coaching right there. Like, I mean, come on, man, get this guy off the line.
Well,
you were savagely torn up. It looked like 12 Years a Slave, except on the front, dude. I was like, this fucking guy can't, like, I mean, oh my God, his blood and like hickeys and everything else. I was like, Matt.
That is classic.
We didn't have any dry fit back then to protect you, but we just...
right.
I was just like, ooh.
Oh, that's funny, man.
Tom often talks about the leadership value of your senior class and the guys that took control of that deal, and how frightening and interesting it all was.
Yeah, those were tough, man. Yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was thinking that, I'm trying to think about your career. I didn't realize you had been with 6 teams. I thought for some reason it was 4. And sort of the stuff we went through in high school, where we had multiple coaches and multiple defensive coordinators and literally 4 different offensive coordinators. And, that idea that we already knew that we had to be independent and we were there for each other and we had to be together, and there had to be some leadership coming from the locker room. To me, when you tell stories or when I hear stories about you in the locker room in the NFL, I'm like, yeah, man, of course. I mean, that was your value. That's a value that you brought. You're a value-added guy.
Thank you, brother. No, that's really cool of you to say, and it's always hard for me to look back and get a good feel of what I was early back then. Because we're all kids. But I remember distinctly trying to hold on to our St. Paul values as a program during a time when, Rick Reddy, we'll say God rest his soul, didn't give much shit about it, and it was a whole sort of deal. And you guys know the stories behind it, but for us as players, trying to hold on as best we could to these to these sort of what we knew as swordsman values, and trying to hang on to them as we, like you said, moved through all these coaches, changing up from, you know, St. Paul football to kind of this who knows what aerial attack and all this other craziness.